I had a wonderful 14 years, 2 beautiful children, and just a romance like I didn't think existed anymore. A wonderful, wonderful romance. And he was passionate and determined and enthusiastic and all of those things. And some of the things that made me crazy, like his desire to do everything now. He had a real sense of urgency with his life. And no 5-year business plan. If you've got plans, we'll do them now. Sometimes it was a little hard to keep up with him.
Do you think that because his life was so full of danger, that maybe he knew that it wasn't going to be a long life?
Oh, absolutely. He talked about it often. But it wasn't because of any danger from wildlife. That was never a consideration. He just felt life could be dangerous.
His mother had been killed in a car accident.
Yes, and that really shattered him. And he understood how fragile life could be. And I think that's why he felt that.
Koalas are synonymous with Australia. They are cute and cuddly and endangered. From koalas to crocodiles and everything in between, animals were paramount in Steve Irwin's life. But first came his family. This was a family who lived with cameras, even in their most private moments. This is an exclusive look at footage of the family's last vacation before Steve's death.
I'm going to practice my American accent. My crikey, golly gee whiz.
Do you say crikey?
Sometimes. I use Australianisms, mostly because I never understood them when I first came here. Steve would say, "Good on you, mate." And I'd go, "I've got what on me?" I didn't know what he was saying. What a little ripper. Flat out like a lizard drinking.
The Irwins' home movie collection is extensive and astoundingly intimate. Cameras were present even at the births of their 2 children, Bindi and Barb. Bindi was born in 1998.
He goes, righto, righto, here it comes. Okay, Steve, grab the head. It's a little girl.
It's a girl?
Whack! And here's this little baby girl. I swear she's fitted right in here in the palms of my hands.
Steve delivered your baby.
Yeah.
And there were cameras.
Yes. Yes, it's amazing. I always am astounded at how willing Steve was to share all about himself. And sometimes he got criticized for it, but he was so open and yet so private about some things.
Yeah, but what about you? There you are, giving birth.
And what is it? It's a little boy. Come on.
Steve is there helping you. He took the head, and there are the cameras.
No dignity left.
No dignity. Cameras and babies are a winning combination. But add a crocodile, as Steve did on this memorable occasion, and you have a recipe for controversy. He took baby Barb into center stage at the Coliseum.
I was in complete control. Absolute and complete control. That is my profession.
You know, Terry, there was this incident. There was a photograph of Steve holding your then a little boy who was what, a couple of months old?
He was a month old. Exactly.
And it looked as if Steve was holding him and that there was a crocodile like 2 feet away. The picture went all over the world and people said, how could he endanger his little boy?
Yeah, he wouldn't endanger his little boy. It was a very controlled, captive situation with a crocodile that we work with all the time, and he would never have his little boy too close to a crocodile, and was showing the world his new son with such great pride. Bindi went in with the crocodiles when she was 1 month old and grew up with the crocodiles.
Hang on tight. You ready?
Yep.
Feeling good?
Yep.
That's as long as you are, Bindi. Hang on to him. Pretty tight there?
Yep.
Look at that.
Steve and Terri Irwin shared a belief that the barriers between animals and people at their zoo should be minimal. Visitors mingled freely with koalas, kangaroos, and wallabies. So, Terry, all the animals are just around.
Isn't it wonderful? You can walk in and feed the kangaroos and kiss the koalas. We have an area where you can walk through with the koalas, and they'll come down the tree and you can visit with them. It's beautiful.
But even with larger animals, generally considered dangerous, there is some startling interaction.
Every animal here that can't come out and visit with the people, we get people who are trained to go in with them. Whether it's crocodiles, venomous snakes, every animal has whatever they need taken care of so that they can have a good time. It's all about fun.
Terri, this is extraordinary. I mean,
They're gorgeous.
this is what Steve wanted, was to have them not in cages, but like this, wandering around in their own area.
Absolutely. And the idea is when you see these tigers, they're not pacing, they're not unhappy, they're alive. And you look into their eyes, they've got personality and joy. So they're in here during the day and there's people always with them, playing with them. This is how zoos need to be of the future. No more putting animals in little pens. Sorry.
Well, okay. This is what Jaws wanted. Is it true that the only creature that Steve was afraid of was a parrot?
Absolutely. No matter what parrot it was, they would always attack him. They pierced his nose, pierced his ears. Bindi's often saved Daddy from parrots.
So not snakes?
Oh,
Not crocodiles?
He's a cute little crocky.
no.
Parrots.
That's what he had the greatest trouble with.
Terri, what do you think parents should tell their children about Steve's death?
I think every parent should approach their child in the way that they know is best. I wouldn't claim to tell anyone the correct way to handle children, generally speaking, but I have great faith, and I know that such enthusiasm and passion and zest for life can't be gone. And I believe that will continue. And I believe that it's now our turn, all of us, to pick up where Steve left off. He put everything he had into his wildlife work. Everything. His money, his time, his heart and soul, his life. And I think now it's time for all of us to stand up and say, we want to be wildlife warriors too. Oh my goodness. It's just our turn. It's our turn. And I don't think he's really gone. I think his spirit and what he stood for needs to carry on forever. And I'm not afraid for him. And I really believe one day we'll all be together again. I really believe that. And I've always told Bindi, if anything ever happened to me, I will always watch over you from heaven. But she always understood, because living at a zoo, animals die. She's seen death. She knows what death is. She said goodbye to her father. She did a little card. She said what she wanted to say. She's had tears.
We've talked about Bindi, and we should talk about your little boy.
Oh, Robert is just a joy. He's beautiful and intuitive. Just the other night, he got the screwdriver out of the drawer. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm going to fix the motorbike. And I said, well, you have to carry it with the point down and walk with the screwdriver. So off he goes, very carefully, carrying it like it was a lit candle. Goes out to the motorbike and starts poking at it. I said, what are you going to do with the motorbike? He said, I'm fixing the motorbike so Daddy can drive it in heaven. Oh.
To change this world, crikey, what adventure. To change this world and make a better place. Don't you know?
You decided not to speak at the memorial.
I couldn't. It's hard now. I'm really trying.
I know, and I appreciate
But
it.
I've lost my prince. I've lost my prince.
Again from Australia Zoo in Queensland, Australia. Barbara Walters.
Harmony with nature, even with snakes, was Steve Irwin's mission. He designed his zoo more of an environmental park around the comfort of the animals, but he saw no reason for bars or cages when they weren't required. Boundaries of any kind were not Steve Irwin's cup of tea. Steve Irwin never met a challenge he didn't relish, on land or in the water. He had even wrestled with sharks. How ironic, then, that tragedy awaited him from a normally gentle fish. It was a beautiful sunny day aboard the Croc 1 off the Great Barrier Reef. This video was shot by a passing boater. Steve was with his partner of 15 years, John Stanton.
It was a first day we'd had sunshine for about 2 or 3 days. He'd been sitting around for a couple of days and not working that well, not that much, and he just said, I'll just go off and shoot some little segments for Bindi show on the reef. Fine, okay, fine. The best thing that ever happened in terms of the circumstances was I'd never actually said to him, go and do this. I always had the fear in my life that I would direct him to go and do something and that would happen and I would feel like I'd caused it. But he actually did it himself. It was like he gave me that, lifted that burden from me.
John, have you seen the footage of the accident?
Yeah.
Can you tell us as much as you can about what happened?
Yeah, I can. It'll never leave me. I'd never want to see it again. But I don't want anyone else to see it.
You don't want it to be aired?
No, never. No, never. And it should never be aired. It's just a horrible piece of film. It was just the bull ray, was a large ray, was on the bottom of the sand. It was
stingray.
Stingray, yeah. It was called a bull ray. And it was covered in sand. They bury themselves in the sand for camouflage. And Steve was coming around over the top of it, and the tail came up like that, went straight into his chest. And I saw his hands just pull it out like that. And the next thing he just went up, and then there was, I think there was blood in the water, and I think that was, after that, I can't remember that.
There were those who said that the stingray felt trapped because Steve was on top of it and the camera was close.
The camera wasn't close. The camera was probably, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 feet away, something like that.
Had Steve worked with stingrays before?
A lot of times.
So it's not that he was unfamiliar with stingrays?
No, not at all.
I'm going to bring the boat around from the side.
You have been with Steve for 15 years.
Cut. Excellent.
What kind of a man was he?
He was a one-of-a-kind man. There's just no one else like him. Ever. And I just want the world to know there'll never be another Steve Irwin. Ever.
But how to tell Terri? She was with her 2 children doing research in another part of Australia.
I was traveling, so I couldn't get phone reception, so no one could reach me. And when I got to the destination for the night, they said, you have an urgent message. And it was my brother-in-law on the phone. And he told me what happened. And I remember thinking, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. And I looked out the window, and I thought, oh, my children. He wouldn't have wanted to leave the children. And I knew it was an accident. It was an accident so stupid. It was like running with a pencil. It was not a risk he was taking. It was not a superhuman feat of anything. It was just an accident. And I couldn't fall to pieces because my children were there. I had to get home. I had to tell my children. I told Bindi that in life you steel yourself for things that could go wrong. And I said, when something goes wrong, you have to have faith and you have to believe that it can be a new chapter. and that we can go on. And I told her everything about it, and she cried and cried and cried. And I said, we're still a family. Daddy still loves you. And we have to stay together and get each other through this. We can understand the grief and we can live with the grief. But we will not be victims of this grief. We will be wildlife warriors, like Steve Irwin.
Of the Irwin television franchise may depend upon this dynamic little girl who has her mother's charm, her father's looks, and her very own style. Bindi Irwin is 8 years old, but she's been performing since she could walk. She sings and dances at the zoo and learns slapstick literally at her father's knee.
I might have known that was coming.
The Croc Hunter production team is developing a new series for the Discovery Network called Bindi the Jungle Girl. Like all Irwin projects, it will be a family affair, with roles for Terri, little Bob, and a lot of their adopted furry, finned, and feathered friends.
You know, Bindi has a spirituality about her that I've seen with Steve. She has unbelievable sensitivity. She has an uncanny connection with wildlife. She has a love for them that was just like her dad's. She seems to feel an animal. She seems to understand it and have this great depth of love.
Knowing what happened to her father, do you have any apprehension about her following in his footsteps? She's only 8.
You know, Bindi is totally aware of the fact that there are dangers in the world, and she's not a fearful person.
Daddy took me and my brother and my mum with him all the time. We filmed together, caught crocodiles together, and loved being in the bush together.
What about you?
Oh,
are you afraid for her?
I'm afraid for my kids all the time. I'm afraid every time they get the flu that it might be meningococcal. But my fears are fears that any mother has. I have a wonderful gift that my children are growing up at a zoo. And instead of them hating and fearing wildlife, they love and embrace it.
What now, Terri? What are your plans now?
I have to be here for my children. I have to make sure the zoo keeps running. He planned all of that masterfully. He planned this wonderful business so that it could continue if anything happened to him.
Steve is buried here?
Well, as far as anything with Steve, I'm keeping that very private because that's what he wanted. He gave me specific direction, and part of it was to please keep it private, and perhaps that's because he's had such a public life. He's at peace now, and he's got a little privacy.
At the memorial, it was said over and over again, Steve changed the world.
In changing the way we all think, he has changed the way we act. Give me a home among the gum trees, with lots of plum trees, a sheep, a turk, a kangaroo.
How did he change the world?
He changed the world by giving everyone the message that if you can reach out and touch and love and be with wildlife, you will forever be changed. And you will want to make the world a better place. Because if everybody does something, we'll be okay. If we do nothing, we're in trouble. And he did more than anybody. So I think we can all do something.
What will you miss the most?
You know what I'll miss the most, and it's very selfish? He was fun. Steve was fun. He taught me that it's okay to play in the rain and splash in my puddles. and let the kids get dirty and spill ice cream on your pants. He didn't sweat the little stuff. He saw the big picture, and he had fun. Well, I'm going to work really hard at having fun again.
Oh, I hope you can.
Well, I'm Mrs. Steve Irwin. I've got a lot to live up to.
Steve Irwin's work will go on. His broken-hearted wife will see to that, not just with the 1,000 animals at the zoo, but wherever wildlife is endangered. Yes, Steve could be loud, yes, he could be outrageous, but his passion and his mission were deeply serious. At his memorial service, Steve's daughter Bindi called her father her hero. Steve's father, Bob Irwin, looked at it another way. He said, "The animals have lost their best friend." I'm Barbara Walters in Queensland, Australia, and for all of us at ABC News, good night.